Hello friends, welcome to Home Sense with Nell. First of all, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to come check out my channel and see what's going on here at my homestead. On my channel, I talk about home decor, DIYs, gardening, and other topics related to making your home your sanctuary on a budget. So today I realized that being the middle of summer, my tomato plants are not going to last forever. So I was able to take a trip to my local home improvement store and I bought a couple of transplants. They were just 3 for $10. And I went ahead and up potted them into some nice pots with a little bit of flowers for color. So if you want to see how I do that, stick around. So friends, I decided to plant these tomatoes in these 16-inch Ariana pots that I purchased at Rite Aid at a great price. Rite Aid regularly puts their garden supplies on sale for 50% off, and whenever I see that, I go ahead and snatch a couple up because I know that I'm going to use them. Now these pots work really well as long as you remember to punch out the drainage holes in the bottom. I actually have a couple of zucchini plants already planted in them, and they've been just fine. Now, as you can see, these pots come with an insert, which would allow you to use it as more of a decorative pot. You can put your nursery pot inside on this little platform and just hide that with the decorative pot. But in my case, I'm going to take that out. Now, if you guys have followed me for a little while, you know that I've had great success with not filling the entire pot up with soil. As far as I can tell, most vegetables only extend their roots down about 8 inches. So you can feel free to fill the bottom of your pot with any space-saving filler. A lot of times I use water bottles or crushed soda cans, that type of thing. Pretty much anything that's non-toxic and that will fill up a couple inches on the bottom. In this case, I'm going to use some shredded cardboard. So guys, this is the potting soil I've been using lately, and I'm pretty happy with it. It's called Patio Plus, and it's produced by Kellogg's Organics. It actually does contain a lot of nutritive value. It has bat guano and worm castings and feather meal and just a couple other things to give your plants a little bit of NP and K while they're in the pot. And since I didn't want to hurt my back, I just went ahead and filled up this pot partially with the soil, and I'm going to carry it back over to my table. So here I am back at my table. It's my patio dining table, but it doubles as a planting bench until I can build one. And what I normally do with tomatoes is I fill about the bottom third of the container with soil. And then if I have any, I will go ahead and add some of my homemade compost, which is right over here in this Rubbermaid bucket. One of my daughters decided last year that she wanted to try her hand at composting, and I said great, because it'll benefit me just as much as it'll benefit her. So what we do is we go ahead and throw our vegetable scraps into this bin, and we're not too particular about what we put in there. We just mainly put fruits and vegetables. If I have some leaves that have fallen off of a plant, or if I pull a plant up out of the garden that's not diseased, I'll throw that in there too. I usually end up breaking it into small pieces just because I want it to decompose faster. Now I know there is a science to composting. You're supposed to add a layer of green scraps as well as a layer of brown scraps, which would be like dried leaves or even paper bag material. So I loosely do that, but it's really, we just play it by ear and throw whatever we want in there, and eventually it will break down, as you can see. And the great thing about this too is that there are quite a few worms in this compost bin, as you can see in my pot, and they really do help to add aeration to your soil. So guys, I've been using this Dr. Earth organic fertilizer. This is a granular fertilizer, so it's time release. It doesn't immediately feed your plants, but it'll feed the plants over time as the bacteria in the soil breaks it down. So for this size of container, I'm going to use about 1/4 cup of this. And guys, watch out for that dust. I normally find that I have to put a mask on when I'm pouring this stuff because it just gets everywhere and it really irritates my nasal passages. Now, through experimentation, I've found that Epsom salt really contributes to more and sweeter tomato production. I even think that tomatoes get a deeper red color when I use the Epsom salt. So for this size pot, I added about 2 tablespoons. Now, guys, this is what I found. I found a husky cherry tomato and a bush Goliath. I've actually never tried the bush Goliath, but I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to taste. And first I decided to go ahead and plant the bush Goliath. So I removed it from the pot and I was just examining the root system, and it looks pretty good and healthy. Now what I do when I'm planting tomatoes is I remove all of the lower branches because I plant my tomatoes pretty deep. I bury them about 2/3 of the way of their height in the pot. So I remove all the lower branches. At first, it really hurt me to do this because I thought, oh no, I don't want to do this, but in reality, it actually helps you to have a much healthier plant. All of the little white hairs on the sides or the stalk of the tomato have the ability to produce roots. So as long as you bury those underground, your tomato plant can make a much more extensive root system, which will result in a lot more fruit for you. And now I'm just going ahead and backfilling with the Patio Plus potting soil. And occasionally I pat it down just to make sure there are no air holes around the tomato. And there we go. So next, guys, I decided to add some lobelia, which is a beautiful mounding purple plant. I think it's more of a grass. I just really like this plant. It's very easy to take care of. It is a part shade plant. However, I feel like the tomato, hopefully, anyway, this is my plan, that the leaves of the tomato plant will kind of shade out some of the sun and keep that lobelia a little bit cooler so that it can flourish under the tomatoes. I think it's going to look so pretty when you have the gorgeous red tomatoes, the yellow blooms, and then the purple lobelia on the bottom of the pot. I think it's going to look great. Lobelia was one of the first plants that I ever purchased when we bought our very first house years ago. I planted it in the backyard, and I just always really liked this plant. And the price is not bad. I think it's about $2.98 for about 4 plants. And as always, I water my plants in after I plant them, just to encourage their roots to spread out a little bit. So next, guys, I'm going to go ahead and plant my husky cherry tomato, which I know from experience is a wonderful tomato plant that produces hundreds of tomatoes over the season, and they're very sweet and just wonderful. So I'm going to follow the same procedure. I went ahead and put soil in the bottom third or so of the pot, and I added a little bit of my homemade compost and worms. And those worms are going to provide a lot of worm castings, which is actually worm poop. It sounds gross, but they're it's very healthy for your plants. And here's the Epsom salt. That's about 2 tablespoons. And the Epsom salt, guys, goes a long way. The bag costs about $8 or $9, but it's like I've barely touched it, and I've been using it for the whole season. So again, I'm going to cut off all of the lower branches so that I can bury the plant 2/3 of the way deep down into the pot. And as you can see, the tag instructs us to do so. And when I transplant, I gently turn the pot upside down while keeping the stalk of the plant between my index and middle finger. And sometimes I loosen up the roots just a little bit. I think it encourages the roots to expand outwards once it's planted. And I'm backfilling with the potting soil again. Again, sorry about the dogs, guys. There's so many dogs in the neighborhood. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention that when you purchase any of these small transplants at the nursery, you can save the container for starting seeds later, which is what I plan to do. I just wash them out really good with hot water and soap, and those are perfect seed starting packs. Oh, I love the sound of hummingbirds. Can you guys hear them? And again, of course, we have to water them in. And if you haven't already, guys, please take a moment to give this video a thumbs up if you like these kind of videos. And this is what it looked like after I potted up my 2 tomatoes. There's my gnome, Herschel's cousin. That's what we call him. The other gnome is Herschel, and that's Herschel's cousin. So guys, that's pretty much it. Thanks so much for coming along to see how I potted up my tomatoes. I hope this video was helpful. Please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and share. And most of all, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you here at HomeSense with Nell. See you next time.